Welcome back to Grandpa's Time. Hey grandkids. Today I'm doing some transmission servicing on my 1993 Ford F250. I'm going to turn this around. Hold on one second. Okay, this is the pan for the transmission. These are the bolts. The bolts here. I think they're 10 millimeter. I'll check that in a second. But yeah, so my goal today is to drop this pan, change the filter in it, and if I'm able to, I'd like to drop this cover and line up the torque converter. Hopefully there's a plug in that torque converter and I can drain the torque converter, because that usually holds a bunch of transmission fluid also. So we'll see how far we get. This is a pretty standard transmission as far as Fords go, from about the early 90s anyway, maybe the late 80s until the early 2000s sometime. I believe it's called E4OD transmission. They're a little bit different if they're two-wheel drive. They're not as deep here, but they're pretty similar. They don't have a drain plug, and that's because, from what I heard, Ford wants you to do a full service on your transmission when you do it, and they don't want you to just drain the fluid. Some of the newer ones, they just have a drain plug there and you can just drain it. Anyhow, we're gonna drop this pan first. We'll see how far we get. Instead of a regular oil drip pan, I got this tub for mixing mortar and cement at Home Depot for 18 bucks. I figured it was worth 20 bucks to not make a big mess. So I was right, it's 10 millimeter. And wow, these are they break real easily, so that's nice. I'll get them all broke loose and I'll show you where I'm at. What job you're doing, put all the hardware in a container so you've got them all in one place and you don't lose them. Otherwise you're gonna be putting this back together and wonder where two bolts went. That's been my experience anyway. Okay, it's dripping pretty good now. Just gonna let that do its thing for a couple minutes. I'm not in a hurry. The pan's still pretty hot anyway, so I'm just gonna let that drain until it goes to a slow drip, and then I'll unbolt the other ones. That way I don't get douched. Okay, it's down to just a drip now. I'm going to put the pan on that so I don't make a mess before I clean the pan. If you're like me, you get your... I was smart enough to get this pan, but I still get stuff all over me every time I do a project, so safety glasses are not a bad idea. Always have a couple rags handy or some shop towels. Alright, that's nice. I still didn't make too much of a mess. Oh. Grandpa's still good at making a mess of himself, but at least I can get everything everywhere. I'm just going to let that drip for a while. I would have liked to have looked in the pan before I dropped it. Bolts in there somewhere. All my bolts. Now we're gonna let that drain for a while. Okay, we're gonna talk about the way I did this versus the right way of doing it. I should have grabbed the pan better. Maybe had somebody take the last bolt out even, and then dropped it down so I could look at this. So I could take a look at this, and you're looking for any flake or any of that. I'm gonna drain this out in a second and look at the magnet, but you want to see if there's anything floating around in there too. Okay, so a couple things. This is the magnet, and some of that's normal, I guess. It's gonna have some stuff on it, but what you're looking for is like big flake. I'm not seeing anything too bad in here, but then the other thing is this gasket has some problems. So some of these gaskets, you get, some of them are like rubber, and you're supposed to be able to reuse them. I don't think I'm going to be able to reuse this, so I'm going to need 2 hands for this. While I'm waiting for that to finish dripping, then I'm going to pull the filter after that, but I'm going to clean this up with some brake clean. If you use brake clean, you probably want to put some gloves on your hands. That stuff's not good for you. It's just not good for you. I think that's probably the original magnet. When I do this again next time, I'll probably change that. I got the interior of the pan about as clean as I'm going to get, so this is the filter. I'm going to pull that. There should be some more fluid comes out with it. And there's a seal. It gets stuck up in there sometimes. I'll show you. There's the filter. Okay, I pulled the filter, and there's a seal that's supposed to be on here. It must have got caught in there. It's pretty common. I gotta get it out. Oh, crap. Okay. I need a screwdriver. Comes with a gasket for the pan and a new filter, and that's the seal I was talking about. I gotta dig out of that other one, because it sticks sometimes in the transmission, and that's what happened this time. Alright, I need 2 hands for this. No big deal. You just want to make sure you dig into the seal and not the case itself. Just need a little flat tip. And there is the dipstick. Okay, I got the transmission drain, the filter out. Now I'm gonna mess with this for a second. See if I can get the torque converter plate off. Okay, well, I've spun this twice around, just using the key and doing a quick twist on the ignition to get it to spin around, and there's no plug on this. So the only other way to do this properly is to completely flush the transmission. I don't have the stuff to do that, so I guess I'm going to button it back up and call it good for now. Do some more research. I guess that's it though. Not everything's going my way today, but this gasket seems to fit, so I'm going to put the pan back in. Put the pan back up. New filter's installed. I should have actually shown putting the filter back on, but you can see where that hole is, and there's that male end where the O-ring that got stuck in there in the transmission was. So just kind of go back on this video. You see there, that's where that O-ring was. That just goes, there's a hole in the transmission that goes into. Just go back and take a look at the video, and that should help. Okay, I got the new filter in, and I wiped down where the gasket's going. That bothers me a little, but I'm hoping it's not going to be an issue, but wonder what the hell happened there. Just putting them in hand tight. Okay, well, I got about half the fluid out. 8 quarts, 2 gallons is what I got out. I couldn't drain the torque converter. I don't have the right stuff to do an actual transmission flush. And I don't want to start the truck without enough fluid in it and screw up the pump. So we're just going to call that good. Now I've got all the bolts back in the pan. Stick the pan down there. Yeah. I don't know if you can see the pan, but now I've got to torque them down. I've got this torque wrench. Okay, the pan's bolted back on. 10 foot-pounds. See what that does. Now I just have to add the fluid. Give it a test drive. You need to pull the dipstick out where it says transmission fluid. Pull the dipstick out, and then you're going to put a little funnel there on the dipstick itself, because that's where you're going to add the fluid. Make sure your funnel's clean. You don't want any dirt or debris in the funnel. That's going to go into your transmission. Okay, there's several different types of transmission fluids. You want to make sure that you're using the right fluid for the transmission that you have. You can look online or in your vehicle's manual. This is the type of transmission fluid that I used for my transmission. The last part is just making sure that you have enough fluid, but not too much. You don't want it to be overfull. So in this case, I drained about 7 quarts. I put about 6 quarts back in, warmed it up, and then added as I needed to add. Okay, we're all done. Buttoning everything up and putting the dipstick back and taking it for a test drive. We're ready to go. Oh, that's nice and smooth. Yes. Well, it's shifting fine. I added about 7 quarts. I'm going to drive home and check it again. It was right at the top of the high mark, of the hot mark. Right on the top of the mark for when it's hot. at 7, but I drained about 8 quarts out, so I don't know. Anyway, I gotta drive. It's shifting about as smooth as it's ever shifted. Probably smoother than it's shifted since I've had it. So I think I did some good. That's it. Thanks for watching. What are you doing though?
I'm fixing my bike
Oh.
for it to be broken.
Oh, well, that's good.